For 9 years, 3121 Aberdeen Street was the loudest house in Queens. It was a battlefield of marriage filled with Doug's schemes, Carrie's fire, and the eccentric shouting from the basement. But looking back from late 2025, the noise has faded into a heartbreaking silence. The basement is empty now. We mourn the unspeakable loss of the show's soul, Jerry Stiller, and acknowledge the quiet tragedies and personal wars fought by the cast once the garage door closed. Tonight, we don't just deliver packages. We deliver the truth about the family that made dysfunction feel like home. Kevin James as Doug Heffernan. He was the everyman with a heart of gold, a delivery driver who carried the weight of the show and the laughter of a nation on his shoulders. Born on April 26, 1965 in Stony Brook, New York, he was raised in a devout Catholic household where humor was the currency of affection. He wasn't always the center of attention. He was the younger brother watching, learning, and eventually finding his voice not in sports but in the raw vulnerability of stand-up comedy. He spent years grinding through the comedy circuit, refining a persona that was approachable yet deeply funny. He was just 33 years old when the lights of the soundstage turned on in 1998, transforming him from a working comic into the King of Queens. As Doug Heffernan James gave America a husband who was flawed, often selfish, but undeniably lovable. He mastered the art of physical comedy, using his size not as a punchline, but as an instrument of joy. Whether he was faking a heart attack to get out of trouble or dancing with reckless abandon, he brought a physicality to the sitcom format that recalled the greats like Jackie Gleason. While Doug Heffernan's biggest worries usually involved sandwich shops or his father-in-law Kevin James, faced the immense silent pressure of anchoring a primetime juggernaut. Behind the easy smile was a man navigating the perilous transition from stand-up comedian to global superstar. He managed to keep his private life remarkably shielded from the tabloids, a rare feat in Hollywood. Yet the burden of typecasting is a heavy coat to wear. For years, the industry struggled to see him as anything other than the funny fat guy. He remained loyal to his roots and his faith, avoiding the scandals that plagued his peers, but the internal grind of maintaining relevance in a changing comedy landscape required a quiet, steely determination that few fans ever saw. Life after the Heffernans has been a journey of reinvention and loyalty. James refused to fade into obscurity, taking his brand of humor to the big screen and then back to television. He proved that his bond with his former co-stars was genuine, reuniting with Leah Remini for Kevin Can Wait, in a move that delighted nostalgic fans. He has returned to his first love stand-up comedy, touring the country, with specials like Irregardless in 2024, proving that his timing is as sharp as ever. He also embraced the digital age, building a massive following on YouTube, showing a willingness to evolve that many of his generation lack. Today, Kevin James stands as a titan of American sitcom history. He has aged with a grace that defies the frantic energy of his youth. At 60, he remains a beloved figure, a man who proved that you can be a massive star without losing the humble spirit of a guy from Stony Brook. Jerry Stiller as Arthur Spooner. He was the shouting, chaotic soul of the basement, a man who turned senility and rage into a symphony of laughter. Gerald Isaac Stiller was a child of the Depression, a man who saw the world through the lens of survival and humor. Born on June 8, 1927 in Brooklyn, New York, he was the son of a bus driver. He served in the Army, studied drama, and found his other half in Meara. They were a comedy duo legend, but his career had lulls, and he was 71 years old when he began playing Arthur, a role that would give him a spectacular second act in life. Arthur Spooner was a marvel. Stiller didn't just play the eccentric father-in-law, he attacked the role. His screaming delivery, his bizarre schemes, and his unpredictable physicality stole every scene he was in. He was the chaos agent that made the show work. Yet beneath the yelling, Stiller infused Arthur with a terrified vulnerability, the fear of being old, of being useless, of being alone. It was a performance of Shakespearean magnitude disguised as a sitcom antic. The shouting man on screen was in reality a gentle soul who deeply loved his wife. The greatest tragedy of his life was the slow loss of Meara. They were partners in every sense for over 60 years. Watching her decline and passing in 2015 broke a part of him that could never be repaired. He also faced the inevitable physical decline of his 90s, a fading of the light that he fought with his characteristic spirit until the very end. Jerry Stiller spent his final years as a beloved elder statesman of comedy. He wrote memoirs, mentored his son Ben, and basked in the adoration of a new generation of fans who discovered him through reruns. He passed away from natural causes, leaving a silence in the comedy world that was deafening. Jerry Stiller died on May 11, 2020, when he is 92. He was the king of Queens court jester, and it's hard a man who proved that you're never too old to scream at the world. Meara as Veronica Olchin. She was the sharp-tongued matriarch who could silence a room with a look the perfect foil to the madness around her. Meara was born into tragedy and resilience. Born on September 20th, 1929 in Brooklyn, New York, she lost her mother to suicide when she was just 11 years old, a trauma that shaped her dark, quick-witted humor. She was raised Catholic, but converted to Judaism, embracing a new identity with her husband Jerry. She was an accomplished playwright and actress, 69 years old, when she joined the show, bringing a lifetime of stage authority to the role. As Veronica Olchin, and occasionally other characters, Meara was the only one who could go toe-to-toe with Jerry Stiller. Their real-life chemistry bled onto the screen in the most delightful way. She played Veronica with a boozy, cynical edge that cut through the nonsense. Watching her and Stiller bicker on screen felt like watching two jazz musicians improvising. It was messy, loud, and absolutely perfect. Meara's life was a battle against the shadows of her childhood. The suicide of her mother was a ghost that never truly left. She channeled that pain into her writing and her comedy, using laughter as a shield. In her later years, her health began to fail, a slow betrayal of the body that housed such a sharp mind. She faced her mortality with the same pragmatism she applied to her characters, but the separation from Jerry was the one thing she feared most. Meara worked until she couldn't. She embraced the internet age with a web series alongside Jerry, showing that her comedic timing remained flawless. She passed away at 85-year-olds, leaving behind a legacy of brilliant writing and performance. Meara died on May 23, 2015. She was half of one of the greatest love stories in Hollywood history, and on screen, she was the woman who taught us that love sometimes looks like a well-timed insult. Leah Remini as Carrie Heffernan. She was the fire and the fury, redefining the sitcom wife from a passive observer into a sharp-tongued force of nature. Leah Marie Remini was never designed to be a wallflower. Born on June 15, 1970 in Brooklyn, New York, she was forged in the fires of a tough, outspoken neighborhood. Her path to stardom was not paved with ease. She dropped out of school to work hustling through waitressing jobs and minor roles, fighting to be seen in an industry that often dismissed brashness. She was only 28 years old when she landed the role of Carrie, bringing with her a lifetime of New York attitude and a vulnerability that she often hid behind a shield of sarcasm. Carrie Heffernan was a revelation. In an era of sitcoms where wives were often the nagging buzzkills, Remini played Carrie as a complex, ambitious, and terrifyingly funny equal. She was arguably the smartest person in the room, and her ferocious delivery of insults became the show's secret weapon. Yet Remini infused Carrie with a deep protective love for her eccentric father and her bumbling husband. She showed that a woman could be aggressive and demanding while still being deeply lovable, creating a character that resonated with millions of women who saw themselves in her unapologetic strength. Behind the scenes, Remini was fighting a war for her very soul. Raised in the Church of Scientology since childhood, her rising fame made her a poster child for the organization. But as the years passed, the cracks in the facade began to show. The internal pressure, the fear of losing her family, and the questions she wasn't allowed to ask created a pressure cooker of anxiety. Her brave decision to leave the church in 2013 wasn't just a headline, it was a terrifying leap into the unknown that cost her lifelong friendships and subjected her to intense public scrutiny. Furthermore, her personal life faced upheaval recently as she navigated a painful divorce from Angelo Pagan in 2024 after decades together. Remini transformed her trauma into a crusade. She didn't just survive her exit from Scientology. She became a warrior for others, producing award-winning documentaries that exposed the abuses she witnessed. She reinvented herself not just as an actress, but as a host, a judge, and an activist. She has continued to work tirelessly, appearing on game shows and podcasts, refusing to be silenced. Her resilience has inspired a generation, proving that the truth is worth any price. Leah Remini is no longer just an actress. She is a symbol of courage. She stands taller than ever, a Brooklyn girl who took on a giant and won at 55-year-olds. Her legacy is one of fierce honesty, proving that the sharp tongue of Carrie Heffernan was just a warm-up for the woman she would become. Patton Oswalt as Spence Olchin. He was the nerd with the poetic soul, the subway token booth clerk who dreamed of sci-fi worlds while trapped in a queen's basement. Patton Peter Oswalt was a student of the awkward and the absurd long before he stepped onto a soundstage. Born on January 27, 1969 in Portsmouth, Virginia, he was a military brat who found solace in books and comedy records. He spent his 20s in the trenches of the alternative comedy scene, crafting a voice that was intellectual, biting, and self-deprecating. He was 29 years old when he was cast as Spence, a role that required him to channel the loneliness of the eternal sidekick. Spence Olchin was the lovable loser, the man who was allergic to everything, including social success. Oswalt played him with a pathetic dignity that was impossible not to root for. Whether he was being bullied by Arthur or pining for unrequited love, Oswalt brought a nuanced sadness to the character. He represented the quiet desperation of the single friend left behind as everyone else grew up, yet he delivered lines with a comedic precision that stole entire scenes. While Spence's tragedies were played for laughs, Oswalt's real life was struck by a devastation no script could prepare him for. In 2016, his beloved wife, the brilliant crime writer Michelle McNamara, died suddenly in her sleep, leaving him a widower with a young daughter. The grief was absolute and public. Oswalt had to navigate the darkest period of his life while the world watched openly, discussing his struggle with trauma and the impossible task of single fatherhood. It was a heartbreak that shattered his world, turning his comedy into something rawer and more profound. Oswalt's journey through grief to survival has been nothing short of heroic. He found love again, remarrying and continuing to build a life for his daughter. Professionally, he has become a ubiquitous presence in voice acting and film narrating The Goldbergs and writing books. Patton Oswalt is a survivor and a master of his craft. At 56, he is revered not just for his wit but for his emotional intelligence. He proved that the little guy in the subway booth had the biggest heart of them all. Victor Williams as Deacon Palmer. He was the steady hand on the wheel, the cool, composed best friend who provided the perfect counterweight to the chaos. Victor L. Williams was born to stand out literally and figuratively. Born on September 19, 1970 in Brooklyn, New York, he used his impressive height to play high school basketball, but his heart beat for the stage. He trained rigorously, earning a Master of Fine Arts, preparing himself for the serious world of dramatic acting. He was 28 years old when he took on the role of Deacon, a character that could have been a generic best friend trope, but became so much more in his capable hands. Deacon Palmer was the voice of reason. In a show defined by loud arguments and manic energy, Williams played Deacon with a smooth, effortless cool. He was the anchor that kept Doug from drifting completely away from reality. Williams brought a quiet charisma to the role, delivering deadpan reactions that were often funnier than the jokes themselves. He portrayed a modern father and husband who dealt with his own marital strife with a dignity that balanced the show's wackiness. For a classically trained actor, the pigeonhole of a sitcom sidekick can be a golden cage. Williams faced the challenge that many talented black actors face in Hollywood, fighting for roles that utilized his full range beyond the best friend archetype. While he didn't suffer the public scandals of others, his struggle was one of professional identity, maintaining his artistic integrity in an industry that often prefers easy stereotypes. He kept his private life intensely private, shielding his family from the glare that consumed his co-stars, carrying his own quiet burdens away from the camera. Williams successfully broke free from the shadow of IPS. He transitioned seamlessly into dramatic roles, bringing his gravitas to gritty series like The Affair and The Good Wife. He proved that his acting range extended far beyond comedy. He has continued to work steadily, a testament to his professionalism and talent. He remains a working actor in the truest sense, valuing the craft over the celebrity, maintaining a career that has spanned decades. Victor Williams remains the definition of cool and competence. He's currently 55, and he is respected by peers and fans alike. Gary Valentine as Danny Heffernan. He was the cousin who just wanted to belong, turning the role of the sad sack relative into a masterpiece of pathetic charm. Gary Joseph Knipfing knew the struggle of the spotlight long before the show. He was the older brother, the one who paved the way. Born on November 22, 1961 in Mineola, New York, he shared the same German-American Catholic upbringing as his brother Kevin. He adopted the stage name Valentine from his father's middle name, carving out his own identity on the comedy club circuit. He was 37 years old when he joined the cast initially as a guest, before his undeniable chemistry earned him a permanent spot on the couch. Danny Heffernan was the ultimate hanger-on. Valentine played him with a sweet puppy dog desperation that was both hilarious and slightly heartbreaking. He was the owner of a failing pizza shop, a man perpetually single and perpetually confused. The magic of his performance lay in the real-life sibling dynamic. The bickering and the rhythm between Danny and Doug felt authentic because it was forged in a lifetime of brotherhood. He wasn't just a side character, he was family. It is a unique psychological burden to work in the shadow of a younger sibling who has achieved superstar status. While the brothers share a deep love, Valentine had to work twice as hard to establish his own legitimacy as an artist separate from being Kevin's brother. The industry can be cruel to those it views as a package deal. He navigated the quiet anxieties of feeling expendable, the hustle of the road comic, and the need to prove that his place at the table was earned by talent, not just blood. Valentine's loyalty has been his defining trait. He didn't run from the connection to his brother. He embraced it, starring alongside Kevin in Kevin Can Wait and continuing to tour as a stand-up comedian. He forged a career as a writer and producer, taking control of his own narrative. He remains a fixture on the comedy scene, a working comic who knows how to work a room in Middle America just as well as a soundstage in Hollywood. Gary Valentine proved that he is more than just a brother. He is a partner in comedy. These days, he's 55, but he continues to make audiences laugh, carrying the torch of the Knipfing legacy with humor and humility. Merrin Dungey as Kelly Palmer. She was the tough-love matriarch, the only person on Earth who could intimidate Carrie Heffernan and keep Deacon in line. Merrin Melissa Dungey came from a world of ambition and drive. Born on August 6, 1971 in Sacramento, California, she was raised with a focus on excellence, a trait she shares with her sister, a high-ranking television executive. Dungey was a trained dancer and actress who brought a fierce intelligence to her work. She was 27 years old when she stepped into the role of Kelly, bringing a grounded reality to the often absurdist world of Queens. Kelly Palmer was the steel spine of the group. Dungey played her as a woman who had zero tolerance for nonsense, often serving as the audience surrogate when the Heffernan schemes went too far. Her departure from the show in 2002 left a void, and her return was celebrated because she provided a necessary friction. She portrayed the complexities of a working mother and a wife whose patience was constantly tested, making Kelly feel like a real neighbor you might meet at the grocery store. Dungey's career was marked by the brutal uncertainty of television. The disruption of her character's arc, leaving and returning, mirrored the instability that actors often face. In her personal life, she navigated the complexities of a long marriage to Matthew Drake, raising 2 children while maintaining a high-level career, only to face the heartbreak of divorce in 2021 after nearly 15 years. It was a private struggle managed with the same stoic dignity she often lent to her characters. Dungey has emerged as one of the most versatile actresses in television. She didn't let the sitcom label define her. She moved effortlessly into drama, landing recurring roles in high-profile shows like Big Little Lies, The Resident, and The Lincoln Lawyer. Her work in Shining Vale showcased her ability to blend horror and comedy. She is a powerhouse of the industry, consistently working, consistently excellent, and moving forward with grace. Merrin Dungey remains a force to be reckoned with. At 54, she is a testament to talent and persistence, proving that the tough wife from Queens was just the beginning of a stellar career. Jenny O'Hara as Janet Heffernan. She was the velvet hammer, the mother whose suffocating love explained everything we needed to know about Doug Heffernan. Patricia Joanne Jenny O'Hara was born into the very fabric of American theater. Born on February 24, 1942 in Sonora, California, she was the daughter of a legendary drama teacher. Acting was not a choice. It was an inheritance. She spent decades on the stage and screen honing a craft that allowed her to disappear into any role. She was already 56 years old when she began appearing as Doug's mother, bringing a lifetime of experience to a role that required a delicate balance of sweetness and psychosis. Janet Heffernan was a masterclass in passive aggression. O'Hara played her with a sugary voice and a smile that hid a controlling nature. She treated her adult son like a toddler, a dynamic that was both hilarious and deeply frustrating for everyone around her. O'Hara's performance was subtle. She didn't need to shout to be heard. Her quiet insistence on protecting Doug provided the psychological backstory for the show's lead, and she did it with a twinkle in her eye. O'Hara's life has been defined by the long goodbye to the generation before her. She watched her mother, the indomitable Edith O'Hara, live to the age of 103, passing away in 2020. While a blessing, the slow decline of a parent is a universal sorrow that O'Hara navigated while continuing to work in an industry that is often unkind to aging women. She has faced the challenge of staying relevant in Hollywood well into her 80s, a feat that requires immense resilience and spirit. Jenny O'Hara has refused to retire. She defies the ageism of Hollywood simply by being undeniable. She has continued to pop up in major series like The Mindy Project and The Good Doctor, bringing her veteran presence to new audiences. She remains active on stage and screen, a working actress who treats every role with the respect she was taught as a child in her mother's theater. Jenny O'Hara is a living legend of the character actor world. Currently at the age of 83, she stands as a beacon of longevity, proving that talent doesn't fade, it only deepens with time. Florence Henderson as Alice. She was America's mom who dared to break the mold, stepping into Queens to shatter our illusions of perfection. Florence Agnes Henderson was a national treasure long before she visited the Heffernans. Born on February 14, 1934 in Dale, Indiana, she was the youngest of 10 children in a family that struggled through the Great Depression. She sang for groceries as a toddler and rose to become the iconic Carol Brady. She was 64 years old when the show premiered, carrying the weight of a cultural icon that she was desperate to subvert. In The King of Queens, Henderson delighted in playing against type. She appeared as characters that allowed her to be bawdy, sexual, and hilariously inappropriate. It was a liberation. Audiences were shocked and thrilled to see Mrs. Brady drinking, flirting, and embracing the messiness of life. She brought a mischievous energy to the set, showing that she was in on the joke and refusing to be trapped in the amber of 1970s sitcom nostalgia. Being America's mom was a golden cage. For decades, Henderson struggled to be seen as a woman with desires and flaws, not just a wholesome matriarch. She battled stage fright, hearing loss, and the immense pressure of public expectation. Her sudden death came as a shock to the world. She had been active and vibrant right until the end. She died of heart failure, a sudden curtain call that left her fans reeling, reminding us of the fragility of even our most enduring icons. Florence Henderson worked until her final breath. She hosted talk shows, competed on Dancing with the Stars at an age when most would be resting, and remained a vital public figure. She never stopped connecting with her audience, embracing social media and new formats. Florence Henderson left us on November 24, 2016, at the age of 82. She remains the eternal mother figure, but her turns in shows like The King of Queens reminded us that she was also a hell of an actress. The IPS truck has driven off into the sunset and the garage light is off. Standing here in December 2025, the laughter feels different. It's tinged with the deep despair of knowing that Arthur will never again demand a lemon ice. We honor the comic genius of Jerry Stiller and the resilience of the cast who faced social battles and personal grief. They taught us that no matter how small the house or how crazy the family you are, lucky if you have someone to fight over the remote with. Good night, Queens. You were the king of our hearts.